Some of these traps have unique features, but in general they all operate the same way. An animal enters the trap, steps on a plate, releasing tension on the door, which then shuts, trapping the animal inside. However, their construction is unique. Let's check out the differences. These two traps are roughly the same size and are the size you would use to capture a dog, a coyote, a fox, or other similar sized animal. The one on the left, the silver one, is a commercially available model. The one on the right is on loan from our local animal control department. However, they're going to serve as a good example between the differences of these cages. The commercially made model operates first by pushing back this spring-loaded catch. This is what keeps the door shut once it closes, so the animal can't lift the door back up and get out. By pushing it back and lifting it up, we can take this little latch, which is connected to the trigger plate in the back, and hook it onto the wire that makes up the door. The concept of this trap is exactly the same as the other one. However, the door operates in a different way. This one has rings on either side of the door that must be lifted. These rings are how the door stays shut and does not let the animal back out once the trap has been activated. So you have to lift the rings, then lift the door. The trigger for this one is on the side. I want to give you a closer idea of how this trap works. This is the latch that keeps the door open. The one heading down is attached to the door, and the one coming towards us is attached to the lever that goes straight back through the cage, where there is a chain attached to it which lifts up the plate. The plate is hinged on an extra bar, so when an animal steps on this, it will rotate that lever down, which then of course causes this side to also rotate down, releasing the door. Close-up detail on this trap. One thing I'll point out to you is that the instructions for the trap were either misleading or just incorrect. That latch will actually also attach to the wire just behind it. However, doing so causes you to have to put a lot of pressure on the plate for it to activate. So I would recommend using whichever wire you can latch onto that is the furthest toward the front of the trap. Again, leaving just as little amount attached to it as possible so that it will activate more easily. To show you how this trap is constructed, the latch is attached to a pole. The pole runs the length of the side, just attached by little almost hog rings, and then down to this foot plate. This foot plate is hinged in the front. It is simply attached to the frame with the activation pole going underneath and behind it. And this actually has a double trigger which comes right back up to the door where there is another latch. Two major differences I'd like to point out between the new commercially available trap and the older one. You'll notice that at the handles on the new one there are metal plates to give you some type of protection should you need to move the trap with the animal inside of it. The other one doesn't give you any kind of protection in that regard. This one also has a live trap or live bait holding area. This simply opens up into an area where another smaller cage sits inside, where you can either have live bait or your bait in general, and the animal will not actually be able to get to the bait at all. Of these three smaller traps, the one on the far left is going to be your squirrel-sized animal trap.